Acura's MDX, very important to the company. It's almost a third of their sales. Add it to the little brother RDX and you're basically talking about the company right there. So when they did this revision for 2014, they had to get it right. It's still highly recognizable, but there's been a lot of things changed on the tech and underneath. Let's drive this 2014 all-wheel drive with the advanced and entertainment packages and check the tech. Now you'll notice the MDX is still very much the same kind of look. A little softer and thicker to my eyes, a little more outy to be honest. It's 2 inches longer, but it didn't go to legroom for the front row passengers, more to the rear cargo space. Now to my mind it is, like so many vehicles in its class, a 2.5 row vehicle. There is a so-called third row of seating, but it's actually seating. Luckily, if you do need to use it for like groceries, it's easier to get to. Now they have an easier sliding second row technology. Now, if you haven't been in an Acura lately, this is pretty cool. Stacked, large LCDs, and they've revised the interface rather substantially. This down here on the bottom is a really good-looking and major improvement over what Honda Acura used to do for presenting media and such. Here are your sources. Let's take a look at these. AM and FM with HD radio, satellite radio, optical disc, that's CD and DVD on this rig, 15 gigabyte hard drive, USB that can also handle iPod, Bluetooth streaming, Pandora and AHA support are built into the car, and of course, aux jacks front and rear. As you can see, touchscreen here, not up here. The one above is driven by either menu buttons down here or this kick, turn, and click controller. Whatever you're listening to, 2 audio systems, bass or ELS audio, which is a big deal with Acura. And of course, you got a lot of settings for that, including different types of surround, subwoofer. There are speakers in the ceiling for the rear entertainment system. They've really jacked this one up. And you can't see this, but there's haptic feedback on the screen. You know, you get a little buzz or a bump when you touch something, but I haven't found that it makes a big difference in the vehicle. It can all get to be a bit complicated though. There are 2 or 3 ways to do almost everything in this car. Here, back here is one of the new breed of more innovative, larger entertainment systems. First of all, look at the screen. This is optional on the full trim MDX, but look at that thing. It's 16 inches super wide. And you say, well, why? How much can you stretch a DVD? You see it doesn't fill up most of the screen. However, what I can do, I can turn this into a dual screen watching 2 things on there at once. So I hit this dual guy right here. That moves my DVD to the right. I now choose my left source. I'm going to go HDMI, which is also very cool. And what I've got hooked up there is my Android phone, which has an HDMI output port. So there it is. I'm using mirroring mode on my Android OS, and there's the desktop of my phone. That's kind of interesting. So this can become kind of the ultimate remote desktop as you're working in the back, or just go to YouTube and your phone becomes your all-in-one entertainment system right here on a nice big screen. First of all, Acura gets some kind of an award for the lowest opening hood that I've ever shot under. So pardon me. 3.5 liter V6 down from a 3.7 in the last MDX. 290 horse out of this guy, 267 foot-pounds of torque. Pretty good numbers, direct injection technology, of course. 0 to 60 for this roughly 4,300 pound crossover SUV is 6.5 seconds or so in the all-wheel drive trim. A 6-speed automatic is your only choice. That's a relatively small number of gears by today's standards, and the top 2 are overdrive, part of that MPG thing, but I'm going to want to see if it hunts out the top gears too much, because I always hate that. It kills responsiveness. Okay, so about that MPG, 18 city, 27 highway, 21 combined. Quite a bit better than the outgoing model. Look at the old car, 3.7 V6, had 300 horsepower, that was 10 more, 270 foot-pounds, 3 more, but much worse MPG, 1621. Okay, on the road, the MDX has nice smooth power. It doesn't come on with a sporty urgency no matter what I do, unless I get on the gears, drop it down a couple, get it in sport mode, and really get some revs working. You gotta really push it to get this thing to have any urgency. Now let's get on the freeway and have a little bit of fun with our self-driving MDX, which it just about is. So I've hit the main button here. I've got adaptive cruise on, lane keep assist on. You can see right there I've got my lane keeping divider lines, and I'm also gonna switch on my adaptive cruise control here. You see, if I get into that motor, it's really nice, but you gotta really prompt it to wake up. Okay, so now I'm going to drive along here in these lane lines, and I'm going to let the car steer its way between the lanes. Okay, now let's see if it'll take over. There we go. Now my hands are right by the wheel for safety in case this thing doesn't get it right. But I'm drifting a little bit in the lane here. And if you look in that overhead camera, I think you're going to see it start to steer. See that little nibble right there? It's not dramatic. See that? Right there. Now, it just beeps to me, you must get your hands on the wheel, and it seems to defeat the self-steering when it does that. So it doesn't let you drive along for more than about 10 seconds like this. Coming into a left turn there you go. That's a pretty good turn it's making by itself. That's crazy. Now combine this with the adaptive cruise where the car is working the accelerator, working the brakes quite pronouncedly, and you get a real taste of what at least semi-autonomous cars are going to be like.